What you are reading is a short story or a class assignment or a personal essay on geographic relationships. Mom is still awake in her chair in front of the TV when come in. How can I think of this writing act as informative and producing an effect unlike paperback short story collections by Pulitzer nominees or crown molding, which are effective media? She is watching me and massaging her left shoulder, which has a compression sleeve to keep lymph fluid from building up. Her cancer isn't killing her anymore. The rest of her body seems to find its condition reprehensible and is ending things for her. Mom and I are making eye contact for an uncomfortable duration. I live with my mother because I am scared of sex and its redness. We are both occurring in a shared space in mutually incomprehensible ways. Her doctor is trying to improve quality of life for the last year she has left. I worry about my sanity without her. Terminal diseases are participatory and community events, like barn raisings. She told me the attention made her feel like an Oprah of small transactions for opioids. She was disappointed she couldn't afford it. Some days I have to hold my head shut to keep inside all the thoughts of losing her. Under what circumstances can I be said to tell a story? Characterization is a series of stereotypes and sociological excerpts. My father died without life insurance in a mass shooter incident in Topeka. Mass shooter incidents are instantiations and not processes or events. They are a political moment or granule of socio-geographic time. Maybe that's why they're so poorly weaponized by gun control advocates. They're always over before we can agree that they have started. Unlike wars or reality television, we can't see mass shooters until after the incident that names them. I still lived with Mom then and didn't move out after graduation. My older brothers had all married and moved away, so when she got sick I was the only person without the social obligations that give children the excuse to dump their parents at retirement communities. My neighbor is Cheyenne Black Kettle and he led a band of 800 Cheyenne warriors after the Civil War and he is on Zoloft. The reservation system disintegrated kinship ties and community. Our other neighbor is John Evans, former governor of the Territory of Colorado. He indirectly ordered the massacre of over 150 of Black Kettle's extended family at Sandy Creek. Zoloft is owned by Pfizer, the company that contributed $1 billion to the university founded by Evans. In some way capital smothers all pain. Black Kettle's wife, unnamed, was shot 9 times at Sandy Creek. Evans's first wife, Hannah Granby, died while Evans was 300 miles away in Chicago. Like many women, their lives can only be read through absences in historiography. It is a custom that male lives create meaning through relegation and relocation of women to peripheral actors or object. What does it say about the politics of language, writing processes, and class assignments that if as an unavoidable part of their representation, the systems are designed perpetrators of misogyny? All of us are required to move out in the next 3 months so the city can tear our building down. I'm not sure what to do about Mom. I don't think she'll die before we move out. If I found a 2-bed I would have to move within the year, after she died. The thought of living in a space recently vacated by someone I love. After Dad died I refused to go back to our apartment to help my brothers move his stuff out for the pawn shop. I couldn't stand the thought of having almost 2 decades worth of memory all at once. Evans has considered hanging himself in his apartment. He'd like to haunt the Northwestern grad students and finance jocks who will inevitably fill our absence. The city will bring a team of developers from Albion Residential to take this place apart. Then more developers and contractors from Albion will come with state grants and municipal tax breaks to pay minimum wage for a multi-use high-rise. The terrible natural laws of huge building complexes operate like a model of invasive ecology, recurring insomnia, or a series of young adult novels. Repeat. Albion Residential is owned by Compatriot Capital, the real estate division of Salmons Enterprises. The proposed development will replace us with an Urban Outfitters and commercial rental space for small hedge funds or the investment wing of a regional bank. Salmons is one of the largest private companies in the world, worth over $71 billion. Its subsidiaries include a gas power plant in Arizona and equipment rental for oil and gas exploratory corporations. It also maintains over 600,000 acres of wildlife conservatories in Wyoming. There is a double consciousness to all capital. Like most contemporary construction, the money for it is mostly Chinese. Albion is negotiating a contract with a mid-tier electronics retailer. The intent is to address subconscious desire and performances of identity in semi-urban professionals, a process of recreation and dictation for the self through polyester blends, cotton knit caps, and surround sound home stereo systems. Bringing a moment of visual appeal to Sherman Avenue. This follows the same logic of household appliances: flat, smudge-less surfaces, an attempt at two-dimensional representation in 3. Contemporary urban housing design mimics the industrial poverty of the neighborhoods it sprouts in, but liminally, a series of glances sideways to metal and brick. To experience it is to experience the double consciousness of reading a historical marker in the center of town where no building now stands. I exist one sentence at a time, and as we all know, one is the most unnatural number. I only know that an I exists because through the letter I am identified. Naturally, any single sentence is itself a process in which existence occurs. Any process is composed by suites of operations and individuals, and thus what I was saying is to some degree a lie or a set of procedural guidelines. Sometimes talking makes my hands shake. Healthcare is a series of fictional, language operations, like a short story anthology. The contemporary American short story is the narrative medium through which insurance claims are made. Repeat, semi-urban commercial spaces like Davis Street are a site of small schizophrenias, like the difference between a mom and pop art shop and a regional hardware retailer. When walking on sidewalks, I walk on the outer edge. Not on purpose, but from thick and drifting parts of my body I don't control. Everyone I know and love has been hit by a car. Time is intolerable and slippery these days. To Black Kettle, all things should aspire to the condition of wind, geography, or the unspoken presence of someone you love, seasonal, transient, constituting a background that is more beautiful than anything designed. Evans believes everything is a design object because he is a Methodist. It is partly why he helped found a university. MFA programs have a way of taking apart non-designed objects and ambient networks or experiences which are reconstituted without the quality of evading attention endemic to the natural. Perhaps it is an issue of scale both in production and in literacies. Magnetar Capital just donated $22 million to Northwestern for a 3-year creative writing MFA program. Culpability is distributed across networks of financial obligation and thus is able to be overlooked. Historians and undergraduate students resurrected Evans and Black Kettle and the Sandy Creek Massacre as evidence of Northwestern's foundational moral bankruptcy. Evanston is a highly segregated suburb. In the 1950s and 60s, predatory realtors forced immigrating black families to settle to the west and south of the L line. The wealthy white families of Evanston wanted their butlers and maids close, but not too close. In 1966, Evanston passed anti-segregation housing ordinances. The suburb is highly segregated. Repeat, Black Kettle hates Whole Foods and its branding. He says it's bad community theater or a vaudeville performance. Hand sanitizer on unfertilized carrots and linoleum and grandma's kimchi are the syncretic and polyphonic extremes of American bourgeois grocery stores. The kinds of performances instantiated textual like colorized photography and otherwise intended to be forgotten while still looking at it. Of American semi-urban spaces are reminders to Black Kettle of the things he so despises about what Europeans have made here: housewives, luxury taco bars, cheap imported hiking gear, anodyne bank lobbies, networked and localized Wi-Fi hotspots are all kinds of performances which compose an ideogram of Evanston instantiated every time someone looks up from their phone. Mom's life remains one of the few things I'm still compulsively tasked with maintaining since I started taking Ritalin in 2004. Keeping accurate time on appliances too. To be disconnected from a central and universal standard is a psychic untethering I am not capable of handling. Standardization is a means of designing identity that underlies everything I've experienced since No Child Left Behind underfunded my middle school in Skokie. Mom doesn't seem to know how she's arrived at this point in her life. Most of the people older than me I meet seem to not know how they continue to be in this space called America. I am standing in the doorway of the living room watching Mom watch television. She still has a VHS player that she uses to watch home videos sometimes. Most of my childhood only exists because she recorded it. Mom had a fucked up childhood. Her pension disappeared into a hole left by poor investments and stock market algorithms in 2008. She never could have retired, so she told me while drunk on my father's birthday this past year that dying now was preferable to living another 10 years worth of 29-hour workweeks. Magnetar Capital caused Mom to lose her pension. The hedge fund invented the Magnetar trade. This involved buying financial securities made of bad mortgages and then betting that their own bad securities would fail. Magnetar made a lot of money in 2007 and 2008. Once other hedge funds and banks found out what Magnetar was doing, they all started doing the same thing until the whole market was bad.
The crab pizza is the pizza absolutely. Pizza, pizza, Rusty Cray, pizza is the pizza, yeah, for you and me.
Commercial design is a set of how-to instructions for reading libidinal absence in one's life. The volume of text one consumes in a semi-urban space like Evanston is comparable to the volume of air one breathes in a lifetime. Their meaning is liminal, negotiated, and composes a system of literacies for commercial desire. These texts are designed to be as pleasurable as possible in the way that nicotine is pleasurable, as a request or dictum for reproducibility. The mechanized reproduction of texts and the experience of such texts as localized ambient and geographic phenomena is more pleasurable than any short story, class assignment, personal essay, or narrative text. Everyone I know is heavily medicated. Everyone I know is in some way a failure. I am the biggest failure I know, but so is everyone else. Grammar and syntax are a series of standardized algorithms for thought. By breaking them, I am thinking as a failure does. At this time I am only thinking of the empty hour and am feeling an uncertain density of sadness. I am living on a gerund-to-gerund basis. I am unsure of why exactly I am here in a general sense.